Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. I'm Pastor John Woodin, and this is a ministry of Hollywood Faith Christian Center in Hollywood, Florida. Well, this morning we're going to talk about Ephesians 3 again. Paul writes Ephesians trying to encourage the church at Ephesus, but he makes in this paragraph at 3:14 to 20, he writes this to get 5 things across to them. Number 1 is to be strengthened with might through his Spirit in the inner man. That's number 1. Number 2, that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. Okay. Number 3 is may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the width, length, depth, and height. And then 4 is to know the love of Christ, so that if there's a way to measure it, that it is measurable to you, and that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. And then he ends with verse 20, which is, a refrigerator magnet verse, says to able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. And it is with the measure, with this extraordinary measure, that it's beyond what we can understand. Paul says, he says, with this measure that we make room for God. That is how we make room for him will be what we get in return. Sometimes we have to clear out some spiritual junk to have God have room enough to work in our lives. We've got to give him space. If we try to control every aspect of what he's doing, then that's what we'll get. We'll get a controlled response. But if we give him plenty of room, who knows what can happen? In John 10, he tells us this. He says, and all whoever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief does not come except to steal, to kill, and destroy. I have come that you may have life, Zoe, and that you may have it more abundantly. So not only will you get this life force, but you will have an exceptionally better than expected response. He said, I've come to give you life and life abundantly. Well, if we allow him to work in our lives, but many people don't, unfortunately. Genesis 26, if you remember this story, Isaac sowed in the land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. The man began to prosper and continued prospering till he became very prosperous, for he had possessions of flocks and of herds and great numbers of servants. So Isaac comes and he needs a big space to operate because he's got plenty of herds and all sorts of things going on. So he needs a big space. So he goes back to Gerar. Now, I want to remind you that in the first verse, it says there was a famine in the land, which means a recession or a depression. There was no rain, the crops were bad, and they're struggling. But not Isaac, because it said the man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous. And I love that verse, because it's just great. But Isaac becomes very prosperous even in the midst of famine, even in the midst of lack everywhere else. He's doing great. And then he begins to redig the wells that his father Abraham had dug, because the Philistines had come and filled them all up with dirt and rocks. Now, the Middle East, the ground is extremely hard because it's extremely dry, so that it's easier to redig an old well than it is to dig a new one. So what they were doing was digging the old wells and finding them, and the Philistines kept claiming them until he found one that he named Rehoboth, which means a wide place. For the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And that's the key, is the Lord has made room for us. And the more room we make for God, the more blessings, the more miracles can occur in our lives, because we give him a wide space to operate. God bless you guys. See you again next time.